Hi, my name is Eefje and I haven't uploaded a video to YouTube in over 2 years. I've actually been watching a lot of booktubers lately and I feel like I really want to get into the conversation with them. So I figured why not try it again and maybe actually start making videos again. Perhaps in the meantime I've magically gotten better at them. So I've got my tea and I've got a pile of books, all of which I've read in August, because this is a wrap-up video, people. Yes, I am going to do the exact same thing that everyone else is doing. Yay! Let's start with the Dutch comics I read this month. De Geuze, De Zeven Jagers, it's the first. It's by Willy van der Steen. Willy van der Steen is a very famous Belgian comic artist. If you are at all familiar with Dutch language comics, you would probably know Suske en Wiske, which is his most famous works. And it's still being continued on by different people today. And De Geuze are actually the last stories he did, and he actually put it in his will that no one was allowed to continue it after his death. So there are only 10 issues of them, and I have 8 of them. The only ones I'm missing are numbers 8 and 10. And I used to read them as a child because we had 1 to 9 at home. I never even knew there was a 10th one, so I still haven't read the 10th one. And I figured I would get them and start rereading them. It's historical. It's about the time the Spanish had control over the Netherlands and Belgium, and it's about the resistance in those days, which are called the Geuze. There are also some very strange magical elements. He was very clearly inspired by Peter Bruegel, which is an artist who made some really mind-melty prints. He's actually name-checked in the issue. It is funny though to read it again after so many times when I read it as a child, because the rhythm feels very differently. The way you read a thing and experience the time it takes to read a thing as a child is very different from the way that happens as an adult, and I go through it, well, probably just as quick, only it feels much quicker. So all the plot developments feels like they happen much quicker than I remember them happening. But it is still a very good issue. I'm not sure they've ever been translating in English, but I kind of don't care. Next up, I have read 3 issues of Franka, which are number 3, De Terugkeer van de Noorderzon, number 5, Circus Santekraam, and number 6, Het Monster van de Moerplaat. Now, I read a lot of Franka when I was younger from the library. Franka is it's written by Henk Kuipers, and it's about a kick-ass lady detective named Franka, and I've always kind of wanted to grow up to be her. I haven't, but I still kind of want to grow up to be her. Basically, she just, you know, goes around living her life, and then weird shit happens, and people are like, oh my god, it's a ghost ship! And she's like, no, that's not possible, let's find out what happens. So I'm in the process of finding the Franka issues and seeing which one I remember from being a child and which one I've never read before. If you are in any way interested in Dutch comics, you will definitely love Franka. Because I basically can't imagine anyone not loving Franka. On to the books I've read, which are actually in English. Let's start with Witches Abroad by Terry Pratchett. I really love Terry Pratchett. I have read all of the Discworld books in publication order before, and several of them I've read multiple times. And now I'm rereading them alongside Mark Oshido from over on Mark Reads. He's reading them for the first time. He's doing little installments and then responding to it and making reviews. And as long as people commission it, he actually reads, the first time he reads the text, he reads it out loud and records it on a video. So basically I've been having Mark read the book to me, which is amazing. Reading it alongside Mark has given me a whole new appreciation for the book, because he picks up on so many things that I haven't picked up on before, because I'm not a native speaker and sometimes puns fly over my head, and I mean, I've loved it before, but I love it a lot more now. Witches Abroad follows 3 witches: Granny Weatherwax, Nanny Ogg, and Margaret Garlock. It's about the power of stories and how stories work in people's minds, and it's amazing, and there's all sorts of fairy tale references woven into them, and I love that. I love retellings of fairy tales, and basically it's all the fairy tales mashed up and adding Granny Weatherwax who won't be having with all of that. If you are in any way interested in the nature of stories, you will enjoy this book, and you will probably enjoy it multiple times, because every time you reread Terry Pratchett, new things pop up, new puns you missed the first time, new references to things you didn't recognize the first time. Well, I have also read this month The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry by Rachel Joyce. So in this book, Harold gets a letter from an old friend that she is dying and she's saying goodbye, and he decides to post the letter back to her, but instead of posting the letter, he just keeps walking. I think the writing is very beautiful and it is quite slow paced, which I very much appreciated. And you slowly get to know more about Harold and his wife Maureen and Queenie, the woman who sent him the letter. Basically, this book is about the human condition and the nature of loss and all the things that are part of that. And I think it is really well done, and it made me cry. This is definitely one of my most loved reads of 2015, and I am probably gonna add it to my all-time favorite shelf on Goodreads. Read this. Read it. I know I'm super late with that. I know everyone on booktube has already been about this book. But, you know, just adding my own I also read Wuthering Heights. Look at how pretty it is. I got it at Shakespeare and Company in Paris, and I couldn't resist. Oh, the illustration on the cover is so beautiful. It's like this dreamy, folksy doll style is just so up my alley. The thing about Wuthering Heights is a book that everyone has some sort of image from in their heads, because it's so much in it's referenced everywhere, people talk about it a lot. So everyone knows there's two people, there's Kathy and there's Heathcliff, and they have like some weird dysfunctional love going on, and there's people who think everyone in this book is an asshole and hate it because of that. I mean, they're kind of right, but I don't hate it. I actually really enjoyed it. I was really surprised to find out that the story was filtered through two different narrators, and that has a very peculiar effect. And I kind of want to talk about it more in depth that actually I can't do right now, because that would be very spoily for people who haven't read it. So I am thinking about maybe making a video about it. I kind of want to talk about Kathy. I want to talk about Kathy in all the things. There is a character in this book named Joseph who has a thick accent, and that's written down phonetically, and my non-native speaker brain just went, nope, can't read it. But I don't think any of the things he said were very important to the plot. Last but not least, I read How to Be a Heroine by Samantha Ellis. And I picked it up from a bookstore because I just loved the cover, and as someone who reads a lot of books, it really spoke to me, even though I haven't read all the books she talks about. I did wait to read it until I finished Wuthering Heights. The way she contrasts and compares like her youthful literary heroines, and the way she feels about them now if she rereads them, that was very interesting. And in case of all the books I haven't read, well worth the spoilers. I really enjoyed it. It's part memoir and it's discussion about all the literary heroines she idolized when she was younger and at different stages in her life. And I thought it was a very nice read. I went to it very quickly and I really enjoyed it, and even though my life is very different, I did identify with her. There are actually some books that after having read her discussion about them, I really want to read them, so I put them on my Goodreads read shelf, which is over 400 books long, so it might take me a while to get to them, but I do really want to read them. Okay, so let me know if you know any of these books, are planning on reading them, or have read them, and what you thought of them. And if you like this video, I would very much like to know whether you think it was any good or not.